I'm here with Lewis Whiteside, who is a math and science teacher at Brevard Middle School. Been here for the past couple of years and now a full-time role. We're checking in on 50 years, remembering back to the March on Washington. And Mr. Whiteside, what do you remember about that day 50 years ago?
Well, I can really vividly remember that day because 50 years ago I was a college student, and I was sitting at home in my living room with black and white TV. Couldn't afford to go to the March on Washington, would have loved to, but I was able to watch it, and I remember the speech. As a matter of fact, I have delivered that same speech many times on Martin Luther King's birthday at the local church, Bethlehem Baptist Church, many times to commemorate that day, and also in Shelby I've delivered that speech. I think it's one of the most dynamic speeches that's ever been made.
As a college student, what did it mean to you to hear that speech being given the first time?
Well, the first time it meant, hey, things will get better for us as a race and for me as an individual, because I wanted to teach in the public schools when I finished, and at that time, the only schools that were available were the black schools.
You wanted to teach in public schools, and in particular, you had graduated from the Rosenwald School here in Brevard. Tell me about that experience.
Well, it was a bittersweet type of experience. You know, having graduated from Rosenwald and having, of course, graduated from Hendersonville High School, and for the schools to be integrated the year after you finished, it left sort of a bitter taste that, hey, you weren't a part of that. You were a part of it mentally, but physically you were not. At the same time, you felt good because everyone that was coming up after you would have an opportunity to get, an education in an integrated environment.
Looking back 50 years later now, how do you feel like things have progressed since then?
There has been progress. Have we reached 100%? No. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I think so many parts of Dr. King's, in that speech, I have a dream. I think some of that dream has been realized, where in some cases people are not judged on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. But so much of that is still going on.
Were you a part of the TCIO? Were you involved with those activities at all before leaving Brevard?
In fact, I used to be president of the NAACP and the Mary C. Jenkins Community Center Board when I was coming up. Members of Citizens Improvement Organization, as well as the Housing Authority, the JCs, and all the church activities, president of the PTO. So I was actively involved at an early age. Looking
back on all of those things, what are some of the achievements that you feel have helped to solidify that progress over these 50 years?
I think it's the awakening of us as a people, realizing that service to humanity, and I got this from the JC, service to humanity is the greatest work of art. So much selfishness in this world that a lot of people just focus on what's in it for me. But until we get that mentality of we've got to do what's right for mankind in general. And I think a lot of that is service through those organizations. And again, there's still some biases that we've got to overcome. There's still discrimination going on.
Looking at today, put yourself on that same sofa, looking at the TV 50 years later. If you were a college student today, how would you get involved? What would you say to a young person who wants to get involved right now?
That's a good question. I have not given it thought, not have really a candid answer for it, but I would say that you have got to step out, and there's 4 rules that we have here at Brevard Middle School, and I think they're applicable to life in general. We live those. 1, you've got to pay attention to what's going on in the world. So many times we don't know what's going on in the political arena, in the social arena, and you've got to accept responsibility for your actions. I found today a lot of our youth are just not accepting responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. And if I were in college coming out, I'd try to, how can I impress upon the young people that, hey, they've got to step up to the plate. They've got to manage their responsibility. They've got to accept responsibility for their actions. And they've got to, become involved in what's going on in them.
Excellent. Mr. Whiteside, thank you so much for your time.